Hello everyone, this is Oscar from KrunchCrowd. Just before we get started with this week's review, I wanted to just apologize for the rather obnoxious ambient noises that were picked up in the audio recording on this review. There's not much I could really do to help that if I wanted to re-record in that environment. I was on holiday when I recorded this review, and so I was in a location with unfortunately quite a bit of ambient noise, and I couldn't really go anywhere to change that, or I couldn't go anywhere with sort of a better sound environment, unfortunately, at the time. So sorry about that. I think it only affects about a minute of the review, but given this is an 8-minute review, I suppose that's quite a significant portion. That's an eighth of the review. But oh well. Sorry about that, everyone. Thank you for your patience and understanding, and hope you enjoy the review. All right. See you all soon. Hello everyone, this is Oscar from KrunchCrowd, and welcome to this week's Fun Size Film Review, which is one of a series of 3 Fun Size Film Reviews that we'll be bringing you over the next 2 weeks, I guess, that covering the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and this is all leading up to the release of the new Star Wars Obi-Wan KENOBI series on Disney Plus at the end of the month. So yeah, that means, of course, we begin with Star Wars Episode 1 of The Phantom Menace, released in 1999, directed by George Lucas. You all know the one, I'm sure, if you're watching this video. The film gets a lot of hate, as you know. This film definitely has its fair share of criticism from fans, from critics, wherever you look, really. And I have to say, having seen this for the first time, just 2 days ago, I have to say I agree with a lot of the criticisms. Now, to get some positives out of the way first, the film visually is quite impressive, especially taking into account that it was released in 1999. The visual effects for the time are pretty impressive. You know, it's the kind of visual effects that get assembled on screen here are really, really amazing to see for the time. Now, yeah, obviously, if we compare it to, contemporary visual effects, it doesn't quite hold up, Things look dated, certainly. Moving away from the positives, nothing feels more dated than the wooden, stilted acting that everyone in this film delivers. Now, of course, this is Ewan McGregor's debut, if I'm not mistaken, as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You also have Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn. And, both, fine actors, both good actors in their own respective films, of course. But here, I don't know, the acting just feels very wooden and stilted. The thing is, like, in the original trilogy, the acting is a bit wooden also. But I suppose it's kind of excusable there, given that the expectation for, a sci-fi adventure in the 70s was to have performances like that, So I don't know, it seems strange to me why George Lucas would then continue the same kind of wooden, stilted acting in the prequel trilogy in 1999. The logic behind that creative decision doesn't really add up to me. So the acting is really, really not very good. Obviously, the thing about the story of this film is it's a very plot-building story. It's setting up a lot of future events in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and not only those films, but the original trilogy that this is a prequel to. So yeah, the wooden acting really does not help it a lot. And without the wooden acting, if the script as well, if the writing and the dialogue was a bit better written, certainly I think the scenes of trade negotiations and sort of political meetings within the galaxy, it would have been a bit more engaging, because there's a fair few of those sequences, and I have no problem with George Lucas wanting to enhance the world building of Star Wars, through these sequences. But really, they just needed to be better written and better performed. But I don't know. I don't put that down. I don't put down the bad performances to any of the actors necessarily. I just say it's poor direction from George Lucas, as in giving the directions to do that kind of wooden, stilted performance. Like, Master, is that really what we must do? Yes, I believe that is Master Kenobi. Well, he's not Master in this film. But anyway, that kind of dialogue. I mean, the prequel trilogy has endless memes made about it, or endless memes have been made about the prequel trilogy over the years. I know for many fans, the sequel trilogy was not received by a lot of fans. I personally quite like the sequel trilogy, bar the Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker to me just feels way too safe as a film. But the saving graces of this film, I would say, are the visual effects. Even now, it's still nice to look at the impressive visual effects for 1999, And the pod racing sequence, I'm sure everyone likes to talk about at this point as a saving grace of the film, but the pod racing sequence is really well done, I would say. It's maybe a bit overlong, but it's engaging from start to finish. It's exhilarating, and it's really well filmed, I would say. It keeps you right in the heat of the action as that pod race is going on. Yeah, the main thing I would say that I loved about this film is the final 20 minutes of action sequences where John Williams' score, which is another major positive, by the way. John Williams' score in the prequel trilogy is absolutely awesome. It's great in the original trilogy as well, but I suppose the music of the prequel trilogy is what I'm especially most nostalgic for, because, I don't know, for me personally, the prequel trilogy and the prequel characters and the prequel sort of universe, the Republic and the CIS and all that, that is the Star Wars, the segment of the Star Wars universe that I kind of grew up with, at least that was around when I was a young kid, so that's kind of the universe. Strangely, although it doesn't get the best reception, as I've mentioned, the prequel universe of Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, is the aspect of Star Wars that I have the most nostalgia for. Obviously, the fight between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi is, pretty impressive to watch. I will say it's not aged too well at this point, especially when you stack it next to the godly Obi-Wan versus Anakin fight at the end of Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. I guess that's a spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, when John Williams' music really swells and, the iconic themes of the prequel trilogy are played, it's amazing to watch. And the action sequences, I think, are really well done. It's really quite impressive stuff, I would say. That Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn fight, as I say, it's not aged the best, but it is still a pretty impressive fight, a pretty impressive battle sequence. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example. I've seen this mentioned before, but yeah, I do agree that Star Wars The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace is a perfect example of a film where the ending, someone's overall opinion of a film, like an ending being that good, being that satisfying, that it can just make the whole rest of the film that you may not have even enjoyed that much seem better. And it's definitely an example of that. Because now when I look back on The Phantom Menace, I do look back on it fondly in a way, because that last 20 minutes of action sequences are so well done, and, so exhilarating to watch. Definitely the issues I mentioned before do have to be addressed, or do have to be mentioned, because this is definitely a film with quite a few flaws. And I guess that covers everything I wanted to say about Star Wars The Phantom Menace, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And so thank you all for listening to this review. Stay tuned for a Fun Size Film review of Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, next week at some point. And other than that, I'll be back streaming on KrunchCrowd on twitch.tv/KrunchCrowd on Tuesday for my next Tuesday stream. Other than that, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everyone.